The world of IT certification is already very large, but it feels like vendor continuously add new certifications for new products and new services that they are offering. And in a world that is increasingly complex, increasingly hybrid, where infrastructure is everywhere, data is everywhere, applications are everywhere, security needs to be everywhere, it leaves IT professionals wondering, well, how many certifications do I need to carry? Today, we're going to answer exactly that question. Stick around. This is going to be a lot of fun. Welcome back, everyone. My name's Elias Khnaser, and today we're going to answer the question, how many IT certifications do you need? Now, if you like this type of content, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, leave a comment below. Let me know on average, how many certifications do you have? And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you're alerted the next time I upload a video. I recently made a video titled The Top Cloud Certifications for 2022. And I received a lot of comments on that video that said, well, Eli, how many certifications do I need to have? And that's an excellent question. Now, I'll link that video somewhere up here. If you haven't seen it, stop this video, go watch that first, and then come back and watch this video. But to answer the question of how many IT certifications do you need to have, the answer to that question is it depends. Now, Eli, let's get a little more specific. Folks, it depends on three things. It depends on where you're at in your journey, right? Are you still looking for your job, for your first job? So are you seeking a job? So that could be your first job, that could be you're looking to change jobs, but are you in the searching mode for a job? That would be criteria number one. That would dictate how many certifications you need, and we'll talk about that in a second. Number two is, are you in an existing job and you're trying to maintain this job? Maybe you're trying to progress in your career. That will have a different level of criteria. And number three, it depends on the type of employer that you're working for. So if you're working for a consulting company, the number of certifications might be part of your job, right? So employers that are value-added resellers, that are consulting companies, might require you to take certifications. Even if you don't need them for your existing job, they might require you to take them because the vendors that they work with require that, this consulting company have X amount of Microsoft certified folks on specific expertise. Or Cisco might require that you have at least a CCIE on staff in order to do consulting services for a specific type of service that you're offering. So the vendors that you're working with will dictate that you have a certain amount of certifications. And if, depending on the size of the consulting company or the value-added reseller that you're working for, they may not have enough people to take specialty certifications. So they might have you or others take certifications that are outside of your area of expertise, but just to carry these certifications, because they're going to get a few different things. They're going to get benefits in terms of discounts based on the number of certifications, but they're also going to be allowed to implement certain services, certain frameworks from these vendors that without these certifications, they wouldn't allow them to officially do it. So depending on the employer that you're working for, the number of certifications that you carry will vary. So let's take a closer look at that. If you are seeking a new job, or if you are in an existing job, but you're looking to change jobs, on average, what I've seen is folks will hold anywhere from 6 to 8 certifications. If you're in an existing role and you're looking to maintain this role, or you're looking to potentially progress in your career, I've seen folks that are taking 1 to 3 certifications, again, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. So depending on the organization that you're working for, if your organization is one of those where it's ahead of the game, where it knows the types of skills that it needs, where it, for example, publishes a transparency list. Hey folks, we need these people to have these skills. Maybe it's cloud governance, maybe it's identity, maybe it's security, but they are telling you what skills the organization needs, then that's easy, because then you can start to adjust your training, your learning based on what the organization needs, and that might lead you to take different types of certifications. But on average, someone that already has a job that is looking to either progress in the career or maintain, they'll usually have 1 to 3 new certifications over the course of their career. Now, if you're working for a consultancy, a value-added reseller, these types of organizations, these types of employers, it is not uncommon to see folks that have 8, 10, 15 certifications sometimes. This will again be dictated by the size of the company that you're working for. If it's a small boutique consultancy, you are likely to take more certifications than if you were working for more of a nationwide consulting company. So these are the three essentially buckets that you would fall under that would dictate how many certifications you would potentially need. And again, this is on average. Now there's something else to be said here, is it depends also on your experience. How long you've been in the market. If you've been in the market for 20, 25 years, then it's not uncommon that over the course of your career, you've accumulated a lot of certifications. Take someone like me, for example. I started my career in 1998. I started my career with MCSE on NT4, and then it progressed to 2000. I took a ton of Citrix certifications. Later, I took a ton of VMware certifications. I've taken a ton of AWS certifications, Azure certifications. So depending on the length on your experience, you're going to have a larger number of certifications. But so here's the trick. My advice to you is you don't need to list all of these certifications on your resume. So just because you have all of these certifications, you don't have to list all of these certifications. So then naturally the question becomes, well, which ones should I list or which ones should I pursue? As far as which ones you should pursue, it'll depend again on the field, on the path that you've decided to take. If you've decided to go down a cloud path, I've got a great video. Again, I'll link it up here somewhere. Take a look at those certifications that I recommend that you take. But based on what you're seeking, that will dictate how many certifications you should put on your resume. I invite you to first decide what are you going to focus on. If you are an infrastructure and operations professional and you're moving into this cloud era, into this edge era, what are you going to be focused on? Are you going to focus, for example, on automation? If that's the case, then I would customize the certifications that I would put on my resume to tell a story, to make sure that you are transmitting, that you are telling whoever is reading your resume that you are an automation professional. Now, here's how I would invite you to structure the resume. Again, I want you to stand out when you're putting a resume together. If you look at the resumes, and I've looked at a ton of resumes over the course of my career as I was hiring or interviewing folks, the one mistake that you see with resumes is they're a cookie cutter. All the resumes look the same. Nothing in that resume stands out. It almost becomes numbing. When I'm looking at a resume, I start to skip through it because they all look alike. I got to a point when I was interviewing folks where I used to tell them, I didn't look at your resume. I didn't want to make any prejudgments. You tell me a story. Tell me where you've been and where you're going. But I invite you to not allow that to happen. Make your resume tell your story. Now, how are you going to do that? List the certifications that are going to tell the hiring manager or whoever's looking at it the story of where your expertise lies. So if your expertise lies in automation, then find all of the certifications that relate to automation and put those on your resume. I would even invite you to take it a step further. On your resume, instead of just listing all of the certifications, break it up. Break up the certifications in a category called core. This is, again, your foundational certification. So if you're doing automation, let's say for cloud, then your core certifications could be the very foundational certifications for AWS, for Azure, and for Google, amongst others. But I would list, for example, the foundational certifications for these 2 or 3 providers. Don't go above and beyond that. Even if you know that you have an Oracle certification or IBM certification, you don't have to list them all unless you know for sure that the company that you're applying for has an IBM presence. Then maybe you replace one. So you take out Google, let's say you put IBM, you take out AWS, you put IBM, but try to customize what you put into that core category. Moving on, below the core category, maybe you break it up into a second category called expertise. This is where you start to list your advanced automation certifications like, for example, your Terraforms, your Puppet, your Chef, your Ansible. Those go into that expertise. So immediately when I'm going to look at your resume, I'm going to understand that you have a good foundation as far as cloud certifications, and I can also very quickly grasp that you have your expertise, you're investing your time into that automation. So you are more focused on the automation aspect. Now, I would also invite you to have a third category, and you can call that your stretch category. Now, in your stretch category, I would invite you to add 1 or 2 certifications of topics that you're interested in. Topics that you're not necessarily an expert on, but topics that you have an idea in. Topics that if the organization, is looking at you and another candidate, can say, well, they're kind of equal, but this person has, maybe you're stretching into cybersecurity. At least this person understands cybersecurity. They've got a couple certifications. They're not an expert, but they've invested time in learning the cybersecurity. Now you've given yourself an advantage. Now you've given yourself an edge. Hey, I'm being very honest as far as what is foundational. I know cloud really well, and I'm giving you where I'm focused on in terms of cloud. And then here's the area that I am stretching into. That immediately allows you to jump out, to stand out, right? Now you've customized your resume. Your resume doesn't look like the others anymore because you've given the hiring manager something to look at. You're telling a story without necessarily being in front of this person. So now this person is intrigued to talk to you. I also invite you to write an elevator pitch. An elevator pitch is essentially what you're seeking, how you're positioning yourself, how you're selling yourself to this employer, to this hiring manager. Now, an elevator pitch should not exceed 3, maybe 4 sentences. I would invite you to make sure it's 3 sentences that are really well designed, really well crafted, really well worded. Now, in the past, we used to see these elevator pitch type of sentences on a resume. And if you look now, they've mostly been disappeared because at some point they all started to look the same. I am seeking a job that is challenging in the area of IT. No one cares. You're telling them what you're seeking. Well, you're applying for this position. So obviously you think that this position meets your requirements. You have to put it in the resume again. Instead of doing that, why don't you sell yourself, sell your qualifications, tell them a story of why you're the right person for this job. You can be an IT professional that has solid cloud experience with a laser-focused area of automation. Now you've told this hiring manager that you are a strong cloud IT professional with a focus on automation. And you could do the same thing with security and AI and data and anything. But use these 3 sentences to tell them why you are better than potentially the other candidate, because you've invested time in the certifications that are complementary to this elevator pitch that you just put on your resume. So again, your resume has to tell a story. It has to highlight your strong suits. And this is at the beginning of your resume. We haven't even gotten to the experience yet. But at the beginning of your resume, make sure that you're taking advantage of that very valuable real estate that's at the top. 3 sentences that talk about what you're doing, list the certifications the way we talked about it, and then start to break up your experience. Now, by doing that, you force yourself into selecting the right certifications that will tell a story. So if you start your resume by putting that elevator pitch, then inevitably you are going to have to list the certifications that are complementary to what you just pitched yourself. You don't put security, for example, as your core if you're talking about the fact that you have experience in cloud and automation. You don't necessarily highlight that because you're not a security professional, you're an automation professional, but you can flip the script, right? So if you are a security professional, then highlight those security certifications. Now, friends, I want to give you an advice. No matter what profession you're in sales. There is only one profession that humanity as a whole has, and that's sales. No matter what you do in life, think about it. When you have kids and your kids want a toy, they're going to give you so much affection. They are selling, right? It sounds weird, but they are selling. No matter what you're doing, when you're building a resume, you are selling yourself. You're highlighting your capabilities, your strength. You want to be able to sell properly. So when I say an elevator pitch, when I say highlight these certifications, when I say structure them, all of these are part of a sales pitch that you are doing to that hiring manager. Now, the sooner that IT professionals accept the fact that they are in sales, no matter what they're doing, the better you're going to become at it. The last thing that I want you to do is say, no, I don't know how to sell. No, you do know how to sell. Your resume is a sales pitch. Highlight it. We do a great job designing our resumes, right? Compartmentalizing our resumes, sending a proper message with our resume. And if you don't know how to do that, hire a professional to do that. But when you hire a professional, they're not gonna know what to do. They're gonna simply put a resume together that looks like every other resume that they've done. What I want you to do is I want you to tell them how to build that resume for you. So accept the fact that you're in sales as quickly as possible, even though your career, your profession is not going to be selling on a continuous basis, but you have to sell in order to get the job that you're looking for. There is only one profession in the world, and that's sales. So how many certs do you need to put on a resume? Put the right amount of certs that supports your story. Now, I've seen a ton of resumes where I'm not kidding. The certifications that this person holds are half a page. Now, as soon as I see that, my immediate reaction is you're a jack of all trades and a master of none. You are not focused. You are simply taking certifications for the fun of taking certifications for whatever reason. You have too much time on your hands when I see all of these certifications without focus. The certifications also have to complement your experience. So if all of your experience is in one area, but you're saying your certifications are in one area, that also then you have a lot of explanation to do. Now, if you're early on in your career, that's easy to explain. If you are just starting in your career, you're not gonna have a lot of experience, so that's not gonna be a big of an issue. But if you've got 20, 25 years under your belt and the certifications that you're highlighting don't match your experience, that becomes challenging. Which is why as you progress in your career, the more experience that you have, the less impactful these certifications become on whether or not you get a job, and the less likely that I would recommend that you highlight certifications. I'm not saying not to do that. I'm saying when you have 20, 25 years of experience, especially in a specific field, then it's easy to highlight the certifications. Do that by all means. But if you've got 20, 25 years and you've made evolutions during this time, then listing the certifications becomes a little useless. Let me give you an example. If I were to list out my experience today and I were to list certifications, would I still list Citrix? I've got a ton of Citrix certs. Would I still list my VMware certifications? Probably not, although I have a lot of experience in Citrix and in VMware. I've written books, I've done courses, I've done consulting work for many, many years. But the reality is today my focus is on cloud strategy, on implementation, on governance. My whole world for the last 7, 8, 9 years has revolved around cloud. So when I go to list certifications, I am not going to list the certifications of yesterday for me, right? I'm going to list today's certifications, so what I've been doing for the last 9 years. That is going to be where my focus is. There's no point in telling them that I have all these Citrix certifications anymore. And the same thing would apply to you. Don't list all of your certifications, because then as a hiring manager, I don't know what you're focused on. List only the ones that you want me to see. And that brings us to another conversation. There is nothing wrong with having different versions of your resume. If you are someone that's had a lot of experience, that has a lot of certifications, and are open to maybe different types of career paths that you want to pursue, so then maybe depending on the role that you're going to be applying for, have a different version of the resume. One version of the resume might highlight all of your automation certifications. Another version of the resume might highlight a different area that you also have experience in, that you also have certifications in. What I don't want you to do is have all of your certifications in one resume, whereas again, when I pick it up, I can't tell what you're focused on. So, to kind of bring this all home, how many certifications do you need? On average, it's 6 to 8. But I'd love to hear from you. Leave in the comment below, how many certifications do you have? How many certifications do you have relevant to your experience? So tell me how many certifications you have, and tell me how many years of experience do you have? So maybe 10 years, how many do you have so far? That will give us an idea so that we can start collecting information from you so that we both benefit, right? I can share this with you, and I'm also learning from you how many that you are holding and how many potentially that you anticipate taking as you move forward in your career. So it's not unlikely to have 6 to 8, especially if you're seeking a new job, or if you're in an existing job, you're looking for a new one. Maybe you're just starting out in your career. If you're in an existing job, we talked about 1 to 3. I'd love to know, again, your thoughts on that. If you are in an existing job and taking certs, how many are you taking per year? That's updating existing certifications or new certifications. Let me know about that as well. And if you're working for a reseller or a value-added reseller or some services company, consulting company, managed services company, how many certifications do you have, or how many certifications are you being asked to take, and how large is your organization? 100 employees or less, 100 employees or more. That gives us a way to measure how many certs folks are taking in these different verticals that they are taking them in. Leave a comment below if there's anything that I could do to help or to advise you. I'd be more than happy to do that. I'm also trying to build a solid community, so I'm sure others will also share in the comments any questions that you have around this topic. Let me know if this video was helpful. Give me some other ideas around certifications. I promise I'm not ignoring all of my certification students and the folks that have followed me over the years. You're going to see new courses coming out. I'm going to update a lot of the AWS courses. There's going to be courses on cloud strategy and implementation. There's going to be courses on cloud for sales professionals. So there's going to be a ton of things. I've also created a mailing list. I will list it down below if you want to subscribe to stay up to date as far as when these courses are going to come out. Thank you so much for watching to the end. I hope this was helpful and valuable. If it was, let me know by dropping a like, share, comment, hit that notification bell so that you're alerted the next time I upload a video. I love you all, and I will see you in the next one.